Hello and welcome to the Cinematic Dogma podcast. I am Jose and I am joined as every time by my awesome friend Blake.
I'm excited to be here and tell all of you exactly how you should feel about a Spike Jonze film.
Yeah. And it's the type of movie that you need to be watched what to feel about it. Do you think that that's the case?
Say it again?
Do you think that this is the type of movie that requires to be told what to feel about?
Well, I feel like we're jumping ahead, but no, I feel like the filmmaking is so strong, it doesn't tell you to do anything. You just have an amazing response to it. It's like, do you go into Eternal Sunshine need to be told how to feel? No, you're just like, hey, I'm in this weird dream, and I love it.
Yep. Yeah. So before we move any forward, maybe we have to say what we're going to be talking about, because I think that we jumped the gun a tiny bit. This time we're going to be discussing about the 1999 Spike Jonze film, Being John Malkovich, with the script by Charlie Kauffman.
Oof. Match made in heaven. Match made in heaven, those two.
Yep. And why? I think that you chose this one. Why?
Why did I choose this one? Recently, we watched Eternal Sunshine. And I think the reason that I did choose this is because I recently found out my husband has never seen this film. And I was like, what? This is a film everyone should see. I'm not saying that he would love it, but like this film is an experience, and it's an experimental experience that I think if you have even a passing interest in like slightly elevated film, you should see how you react to this film.
The interesting thing, and I don't want to jump into how we feel, is I agree with you on the elevated part, but at the same time it's not highbrow by any stretch.
No, what I meant by that is like if you go to the movies to see Marvel films and that's your thing, great. This probably isn't a movie for you, but if you have an interest in the medium as something that can be a little bit more experimental and make you ask questions, then you should see this. And because it's not super highbrow, it can be like a good entryway. Like, hey, films can be something different or something very different.
Definitely. Yep. Yeah. I also watched it with my boyfriend that he has never watched it, but he always hears me raving about Charlie Kauffman as like the pinnacle of screenwriting, of modern screenwriting. So it was an interesting experience. So this was our pick. So I guess that I will have to summarize it. Let me just 1 second. These are 25-year-old.
I was just thinking,
movie.
wow, 25 years. 1999 was a good year for film. It just was.
Definitely. Yeah. So I will try not to spoil anything, but I may get a bit. You can stop me. You can hold me accountable, but I'm not going to be like holding back as much as when we are talking about a movie that is on the cinemas right now. So this movie follows John Cusack, Craig, that is a puppeteer. He's the main character, and he's struggling to just make a name on the puppeteer wall. While there are like other more famous names that they are succeeding. I don't remember what was like the name of the other puppeteer that is hilarious.
He idolizes a very famous puppeteer that everyone knows because in this world, puppeteering is a thing.
Yeah. Well, he doesn't idolize it. He actually says that hey, this guy is a gimmick. He only does like gigantic things and pretentious things, while at the same time he would be like just, like doing puppeteer shows on the street with narrative that it looks like from the 17th century and not appropriate for kids.
Okay.
Basically, he lives his frustrations and his fantasies through his puppets. So he's married to Cameron Diaz, Lotte, and Lotte encourages him. They live with 25 different animals in a small New York apartment. That is insane. And Lotte encourages Craig to just look for a regular job. Were you going to say something like?
I just objected to your saying their apartment was small for a Manhattan apartment that's
Fair.
like an enormous
Gigantic.
warehouse.
Yeah. True. He's a guy. Yeah, that's a good reflection when right now is like the New York apartments may be the size of the closet that I have behind me. Manhattan apartments. And it's again, they basically have, you're right, like a warehouse.
Yep.
But yeah, so he actually finds a job in a very dysfunctional company for filing data, filing cabinets. Is that this is 1999, so computers are not part of this story in any way. And this is built like this office is part of is located in the floor 7.5. So everything is like pretty absurd. It's like people are like just about to hit the ceiling, so they're always like just bent. Like their back is always like a bit bent for not like just hitting. So you always have like a bit of a claustrophobic and absurd feeling to it.
I just have to call out, there's a pun they use throughout about why is this floor like half the height of a regular floor, and they just keep saying the overhead is low, and then there's just like this waiting where they like look at the audience like, we get it. But it's super funny.
Yeah.
It's really funny.
Yeah, it's well played. It's a bit more like the timing is funny, and then how it comes like several more times, and even like the story about like how like the owner of the building, like the one that built the building on the 19th century, that he did that as a, I don't know, like a gesture of love to a short woman that he has fell in love with.
Yeah, she was like a little person, and she's like, this world wasn't built for me, and he's like, well, I'm going to build a floor just for you.
Everything is surreal, that you have to roll with it. But it's surreal, but it's like so well played, because the characters, they actually, like Craig is the one that is a bit more of the voice of reason, of he calls out like, this is surreal, but he rolls with it. He's a fucking puppeteer in this world, but he actually calls out like, this doesn't make too much sense, but he buys into it. So it's a bit more of the role of the audience, but a bit still like detached from having a weird job that is puppeteering. But there in this company, in this floor, he is smitten by a woman played by Catherine Keener, Maxine, I think that it was the name. And this woman is not interested in him because he's just like a puppeteer. But a couple of days later, he finds a small door behind a cabinet. He goes into the small door, and then suddenly he becomes John Malkovich for 15 minutes. And after those 15 minutes, that is like living through his regular life in New York.
I would argue it's important to say he finds himself inside John Malkovich's head.
Oh, yeah. He's like just seeing the wall and feeling what John Malkovich is seeing and feeling at that point. So it's like if he's cold, he's going to be feeling cold. He's going to feel the food that he's eating. And 15 minutes later, he gets expelled. Or I don't know. Like,
on the side of the
ejected.
New Jersey Turnpike.
I love that. Like how specific. And I always, every single time that I watch this movie, I always think is that someone had to get hurt. Because they throw them in a very violent way. And it's probably like 10 feet.
Yeah, it's kind of brutal. In fact, I won't ruin any plot lines, but at some point a pregnant woman is kind of dropped from like 15 feet up, and I was like, that baby's dead. But whatever.
That's only what I thought. So, long story short, I'm not going to be like giving away like much more. Is that then the movie becomes a bit meta when John Malkovich discovers that there is like people getting into his head. There is a love triangle between Maxine
Lottie.
and Lotte and Craig.
Well, Lottie, after experiencing being inside John Malkovich, realizes that she's a transsexual and that she's in love with Maxine, and Maxine loves Lottie, but only when she's in the body of...
When she's or John Malkovich. And the thing is, and probably we discussed this in the previous time that we watched it, because this is not the first time that we record about this, but it's pretty respectful with Cameron Diaz's character when she says that he's like transsexual. It's like they don't make fun of that. It's like they get like called out about like, hey, you just experienced like someone new. It's like maybe you are like over-indexing on this. And then the joke comes more like from something else, from the doctor that she wants to visit, for just like doing like gender reassignment surgery. Yeah,
so when Cameron Diaz says to Craig, when Lottie says to Craig, hey, after my experience last night, I realized I'm transsexual for the first time things just felt right when I was in a man's body. And I got super nervous and I was like, oh no, did this not age well? No, it aged remarkably well. Like they treated the subject,
Yep.
well, it's not like they examined the subject, to be fair, but there's no making fun of it. It's just, I was very impressed.
Yeah, they didn't disregard it or making fun of it. I just felt like, okay, this is decent. The story like goes even to more absurd territory. They are like very iconic scenes that are not going to be like giving away, But overall, I had a great time with it.
It's a fun ass movie. Like it's just. So we recently watched a kind of an epic Francis Ford Coppola film, and I talked about how I had no desire to stay in that world any longer than I had to. This world, I was like, no, I'll hang out here as long as you'll have me, Charlie Kauffman and Spike Jonze. And also the acting's incredible. And I'm sorry, Catherine, this was the 90s, so Mean Girls were like a thing. Catherine Keener is the best Mean Girl of all time in this film.
Yep.
Like she makes me want to die inside while making me laugh. I was like, you're a horrible person, and I want to watch you endlessly.
Yeah, like torturing everyone around you. She's. You're right. It's that archetype of I'm going to be like mean with everyone, toying with everyone, manipulating them, and not for getting something per se. It's just about like the joy of torturing people around.
So I feel like, for me, Charlie Kaufman's scripts are kind of like Hayao Miyazaki, because you kind of have to go into that universe and just suspend disbelief. Like, there are going to be new rules to reality that you just have to go with. And once you learn to let go of these things, you're just like, this is an amazing ride. For me, it's kind of the same as Eternal Sunshine and Being John Malkovich. Like, there's just a weirdness that you're just not supposed to question, and you just go along for the ride. And when you do that, it's just like the funnest and funniest ride. And I love it.
Yep. And I even think that watching this movie, and we watched adaptation not too long ago, is that after rewatching adaptation not too long ago and seeing like the out of the scenes like shootings, when they go, when Nicolas Cage is playing like Charles Kaufman and he actually meets the cast of Being John Malkovich, I felt it even makes this like even more hilarious about like how he plays with himself and with the medium. Is what I was saying earlier. Like, I think that no one does it in this way.
No, he's just wildly inventive in a way that nobody else is. And I really appreciate it.
Yeah, and it lands. Because we see like people trying like wild things, as you were saying about that epic. Is that we see people trying like crazy stuff, and let's see if it lands. Is that this actually lands all the time? Is that I've watched it like many times, and I always expect to next time I'm not going to be like us enjoying this as much. And there were like points that I was almost like just like nodding, like my boyfriend was like, oh my god, this part is amazing. Is that the part with the monkey?
That's just like such good script writing. I meant to bring this up earlier. Do you mind if I step in? So
yeah, please.
Lottie is she's taking care of this chimp. The chimp has a lot of issues. I think irritable bowel. Regardless, they're taking the chimp to a psychoanalyst or a psychologist who's helping him work through early childhood trauma. So Lottie's apologetic, but sometimes she'll tell Craig, look, the chimpanzee is going to sleep with us. He's not feeling great tonight, but we're seeing Dr. So-and-so tomorrow. It's just like those little touches that only Charlie Kaufman can like come up with. That I'm here for. I mean,
the funny thing is that the first time that he has that Cameron Lotte mentions, this may come from his feeling of inadequacy as a chimpanzee, is that I just felt that this could be in a Woody Allen script, like this piece.
Yeah.
About like the absurd comedy. That small piece, I felt is like, okay, but Charles Kaufman like take his be like to other places, because we discover where the feeling of inadequacy comes from. So, like, being like so committed to, if something is on the screen, if there is a joke, he's going to have like such a complete and crisp and perfect script that he actually resolves all of that. There is no, how do you say, like fluff. Everything is meat.
Yeah, I can see that. And I'm actually in my mind running through all of his films, and there are just these like moments that stick with me forever. Like I went to Synecdoche, New York, and how
I
Samantha
knew it,
Morton
like the
just like
house on fire.
lives in a house that's on fire, and you just kind of like deal with it.
I love that scene. But I think that that's like testimony to how amazing and unique his style is. And it's not only about
100%.
like, hey, I have like crazy ideas, and I make them work. I can see like, sorry, what I mean is like just like as a first pass.
No, you're
It's like, yeah,
right.
he
And
has
we
crazy
just
ideas
watched a film where somebody was like, I'm just going to do crazy ideas without it needing to.
and let's see if they stick.
And they did
Yeah,
not
and
stick.
they did it.
Yes.
No, but this is like, hey, there is a level of polish. There is a level of self-editorialism, or maybe someone else is like editorializing a bit his scripts. But I had the feeling that now that he has like even more freedom, more creative freedom with Anomalisa, Synecdoche, New York, or I'm thinking of ending things, is that the scripts are still incredibly rounded, incredible.
Super good. And especially when they are original scripts. So I'm thinking of ending things, but it was interesting because directorial debut. Also, it was adapted from a book. So I think both of us.
Is no directorial debut. Synecdoche, New York was directorial debut.
Oh, that's right. He did Synecdoche and yes. So I'm.
And Anomalisa.
He directed Anomalisa? Oh, geez. Where have I been?
Yeah.
Ugh, I need to watch Anomalisa. It's the only one I haven't seen. Anyway, I'm just very optimistic about his future as a director and hopefully directing more of his original writing.
Yeah, I just want more stuff by him. That's it. He actually brought this with other writers, like this animated film, like kids animated film called Orion and the Dark. I knew about it. I watched the trailer and I was like, yes, but it's not the same. I want like this cerebral drama that makes me feel better with myself and worse with myself at the same time.
Yeah, so help me God if he pulls an Steve McQueen, where he was really interesting for his first films he directed, and then he became like a normal filmmaker. I'm going to be pissed.
Yeah, I don't think that's what's with this guy.
I don't think it's inside him.
Yeah, I think that, he's still going to be like sifting to, crazy stuff. And that's amazing.
What is the name of his most famous film with Nicolas Cage and Meryl Streep? Why can't I remember the name of this film ever?
Adaptation.
I think I might be watching Adaptation today.
You should. I mean, because besides that, is what I was mentioning earlier, is that we see Charles Kaufman as the main character, even when he's doing with Spike Jonze, Being John Malkovich. So the characters, they have like a couple of cameos in this movie. Yeah. Is that those ideas are like, great. Is that this guy was meta before meta was a term.
Also, I love that there are a couple celebrity cameos in this film. One is Sean Penn as himself, where he's admiring John Malkovich's career pivot. But the best one, and he doesn't even say anything, is Catherine Keener kind of catapults to celebrity. And she like crashes a red carpet interview where she's like, I'm just so glad the world is having us. And then the camera pulls out and you realize she interrupted an interview with Brad Pitt. And he's just kind of like looking at Catherine Keener. Like those moments, they last like less than a second and they're so good. So good.
Yeah. Yeah, but I think that it's also... I would also say that it's like, okay, I love Synecdoche, New York. I think that is like completely over the top and unleashed, I like Anomalisa. I really like Thinking of Ending Things, albeit like the shortcomings. But I think that this pair of Spike Jonze and Charles Kaufman is perfect.
Yep, agreed. They need to do more stuff together.
Yeah, it was a bit of a pity. I like her, don't get me wrong. Or I like Where the Wild Things Are. But it's not the same. I think that Spike Jonze doesn't shine as much. The same way that I think that Gondry and Charles Kaufman are a very, very good pair. But that's just because of the style that Gondry has. Of, I do like this kind of manual things, like getting together. And it fits like pretty well, like with the style of Charles Kaufman of being like cerebral and absurd. So
It's like the definition of synergy. Like they're both great individually, but together they're more than the sum of their parts.
correct. It's like Gondry, like the rest of the movies, is that I like Be Kind Rewind. I know that you don't. I like other movies out there, but it's not the same. And I think that Spike Jonze also saying Her is a good movie, but I would like Charles Kaufman. I'm sorry for saying this. I would like him to just go back to be a writer.
No, that's fair. I mean, I do want to see more of his direction, but to me, he will always be first and foremost a brilliant writer.
Yeah. So it's like he can be a good director, but I would like to have more movies in the world that he writes, and then other directors. Even hell, I would even love to see like a combo with Wes Anderson.
That's taking it too far, but we can respectfully disagree.
I think that it would be interesting. At least.
Spike Jonze hasn't done a feature-length film since Her in 2013.
Yep. It's super weird.
But he did direct 2 episodes of The Late Show with Stephen Colbert, so...
Who knows? Who knows? So, should we go over the questions?
Let's do it for the second time.
Sure. So, would you watch it again?
Yes. Probably today.
I definitely will watch it again. It's like, I tend to tell you that I don't like to rewatch movies because I have the feeling that there are like so many movies to watch that they are amazing. This is a movie that I don't mind like watching it again. I wouldn't watch it like right away, but it's like 2 weeks after. Not with my parents, but I will watch it again.
It's interesting because I did pick this film because I really wanted my husband to see it. That being said, he didn't watch it with me. And as the film ended, I was like, if he wanted to watch it right now, I would watch it right now.
So I think that this actually answered our next question. Would you recommend it?
Yes. I would recommend this to probably anybody. There's not that much offensive about it sexually. No. That's the only caveat is...
And there's,
No,
there is a bit of sex, but the thing is like his sex is there, but not as something that they fixate in. Albeit is important, like to part of the relationship between Lotte and Maxine, for example. But they don't fester on it. There is a bit more like, there's sex. They're probably having sex. Let's move on.
It's very functional.
It's a bit more.
The sex. It's like serves to move the plot along. Yeah.
Yep. And there is no like high violence or anything. It's more like cerebral. It's more like, I wouldn't recommend this to people, as you were saying, that they will only enjoy Marvel cinema. They only enjoy cinema for not thinking.
Yeah. Which, again, is fine if that's why you go to the movies, but there's different motivations.
This is not it.
Yes.
Yep. You have to work a tiny bit for this. It's not only about like the absurd part of, oh my god, they become John Malkovich. Would you remember this movie?
So overall, yes. And the reason I hesitate is because there was so much that felt new when I watched it yesterday that it was exciting. But overall, yes, I'm going to remember this film.
Yeah. I agree with you. I always would remember it, but every single time that I rewatch it, I always have the feeling of I have forgotten some stuff that is great.
Rediscovering something you love, but I didn't remember the details yet.
Yep. Is there anything artistic about it?
Yes. I think the story is wildly inventive. I think the direction is insane. I think the acting was great. Even Cameron Diaz, whom I like, but she's not like, a Daniel Day-Lewis, let's say. She does great.
Yeah, I agree with you. We were even, when she popped up on the screen, I was asking my boyfriend, he's like, hey, do you know who she is? And she was like, oh my god, that's the woman from Something About Mary. And it's like, yeah, in a non-absurd comedy role.
And really good. Like, really good in it.
Yep. So yeah, I agree. Is that there is art everywhere because it's not only about like the writing, it's also like the acting is amazing. I don't have like high esteem John Cusack. He was a different actor that he never clicked for me, and I really like him in this movie.
Yeah, he's good in this, and I feel the same way. I think occasionally I've seen him be really good, but for the most part, it's like,
Whatever. Yeah. Maxine, Kathleen is amazing. John Malkovich is good. Everyone else, like the secondaries, are really good. Like the directing, I think that the delivery, as we were saying, like that scene with Brad Pitt, or like how like the jokes are like presented, I feel is top notch. Is that this guy has an amazing visual language and he knows how to play with the medium.
Completely.
Yeah. Is it a timeless piece? Now that he's 25 years old?
Yes, it is. Again, I was hesitating thinking about if there was any like weird technology things, but no, it just is. It exists as it does today, and it will forever.
I could even see like I think that the medium was not ready for this, but is that you could set this movie almost like in a medieval setting.
Yeah.
This would work. It's absolutely fine.
Mm-hmm.
So, would you turn this into a TV show?
I kind of wish we could watch a Megalopolis had Charlie Kauffman written the script. Francis can still direct, but I'd love to see what he could have done with the script. Sorry, what was that question?
Would you turn this into a TV show?
Ooh, that one's rough because I just don't want to touch a masterpiece. But I think this could probably be a limited series on HBO.
Would you be willing to watch it?
I mean, with Spike Jonze and Charlie Kauffman, yes, I would watch it, even if it was supposed to be bad, yes.
Yeah, I will watch it. I'm a bit torn. It's exactly the same opinion that you have. Is like I don't know how this story would play if you stretch it out a tiny bit. But I had a blast, so I wouldn't mind having to give it more of a blast.
Yep.
Yeah. Do you think this movie could have been better?
Again, I wouldn't pretend to point out something with this film. I think it's really, really great.
Yeah, and I wouldn't touch anything either. I think that is great as it is. It's one of those things that there is no like any glaring issue. I enjoy it thoroughly from the beginning to the end. And should we score it then?
We should. Technically, this was my pick, so you should score first. But I'm just going to give you my score. Sure. I couldn't choose between a 9 and a 9.5, but I think I'm going to go with a 9.
Okay. My score is exactly a 9. Right. And I had already written it down. Yep. And I can tell you that the last time that we record about it, Being John Malkovich, we gave it both of us an 8.5.
Interesting. I definitely feel like this deserves a 9. In fact, I could deserve a 9.5, but I think I gave like La Ventura a 9.5.
No, you give it a 10.
10?
To give it a 10.
Anyway, yeah, this is a 9, if not a 9.5.
Yep, no, that's completely fair. For me, yeah, this is a movie that the more that I watch, the more that I like. And we talked like some time ago, about other movies that they were released on 1999. And it's like, I remember like watching several of those like back to back. And it's like for other ones that they are like pretty popular still nowadays, I left like, okay, whatever. I mean, this one, I was like mind blown. I wasn't sure about like, I don't know if there is like a deeper meaning or a deeper message about like manipulating and controlling life and just like going with the flow. But holy shit, this was amazing.
Also, I think the writing is just too earnest. I don't think he's really like doing a metaphor of anything. He's just like, here's my soul, I'm bearing it.
Well, I mean, he does a bit more of that in adaptation.
So the first time that we reviewed this film, we were in our 30s. We're both now in our 40s. So I propose when we're in our 50s, we review this film again and we finally give it a 10.
Sure. It's going to keep increasing. It's like a good wine. Okay, man. So, anything else to say about Being John Malkovich?
Run. Don't walk. Run to see this movie. Just do it.
That's a good advice. And to all of the audience, out there, thank you so much for putting up with us for one more episode of this Cinematic Dogma podcast.
And until next time.
Bye.